What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the German Bear Podcast. And today we want to take a look back at the Chicago Bears Week 3 matchup against the Dallas Cowboys, and I want to break down to you guys what I saw on offense, the pros and cons against former head coach of the Bears, Matt Eberflus, and his new Dallas defense. The Chicago Bears and Ben Johnson, the new head coach for the Chicago Bears, started off the season at 1-2, and I haven't really talked about it yet on the channel because I just don't have the time right now to do in-detail film room breakdowns, which I normally do, breaking down the all 22. So for today and the next couple of weeks, I still want to do content because I miss it, but it's going to be more like a podcast style. I still watch the all 22. I still will insert some clips. It's just not that I'm fully breaking down play by play or the most important plays. It's more me talking about the pros and cons, and today's going to be all about the offense in week 3 for the Chicago Bears. Obviously the big topic we had all offseason: how is the offense under Ben Johnson, the offensive genius, and Caleb Williams, the second-year quarterback who's now going to have his fourth play caller or offensive coordinator, going to look like moving forward. And the first 2 weeks were a little bit up and down. Caleb Williams was not really accurate, the offense was not in rhythm, but all of that changed in week 3. And there's still a couple of things that did not go too well. We'll talk about that too. But today I want to give you guys the pros and what changed in week 3 against this Dallas defense for the Chicago Bears, and why I'm so excited for the future, not just in 2025, but especially in 2026 and moving forward after the first season concluded for this new regime and the young quarterback. So with that being said, let's not waste any more time. First 2 weeks really struggled, not good operation, a lot of misses by Caleb Williams. Offense didn't look good overall. Defense helped them in the first game, but then struggled in the second half against the Vikings, completely shattered then the following week against the Detroit Lions, and now had a bounce back game with 3 interceptions, a lot of turnovers against Dallas, which helped out this Bears offense. So for the pros, getting right into it for the Chicago Bears offense in week 3 against Dallas, my biggest point that I saw was the operation, pre-snap at that as well. Because the first couple of weeks you saw the play clock winding down to 5 seconds a lot of times before they even lined up or just barely lined up. And that's a big issue for an offense, especially for a young quarterback, because you have no more time to decipher the defense, look for the safeties, look for the backers, and the second level threats. You immediately have to snap the ball because you're not on time. Also, it eliminates the possibility to fully utilize the potential of motions to get you a look for what the defense is doing and also change you in a different formation. And also, you couldn't really check or kill plays or identify the mic even because there was not a lot of time. So operation was an issue that was much better against the Dallas Cowboys in week 3. They, as a collective group, were on time. They had most of the time 20 to 15 seconds still on the clock when they were lined up ready to snap the ball, and that allowed Caleb Williams to be in rhythm, under control of this offense, being able to get the motions off that Ben Johnson wants him to do and all the shifts. And then he also was able to check and kill a couple of plays if he didn't like the look. So that was such a big improvement from the first 2 weeks. And it just speaks for the coaching staff, because with last year's coaching staff, that wouldn't have happened. We wouldn't have seen a change like that. It would have been sloppy all year long. But Ben Johnson hates and is a psychopath about offensive mistakes. Yes, we still have penalties. We'll talk about that later. But the operation pre-snap was my biggest improvement from the first 2 weeks. Just being on time, under control, and looking like a competent offensive unit. Second point I want to talk about, Ben Johnson himself. He is showing what he's got in week 3 against Dallas. It's not a very complicated defense to play against. There's not a lot of blitzes, not a lot of post-snap movement from Matt Eberflus. He believes in playing sound and basic football, and that was great for the Chicago Bears as a bounce-back game because it gave Caleb a lot of non-complicated looks on defense that he played against. Now for Ben Johnson, we saw a flea flicker. We saw a drive that was a completely run-heavy and dominant drive. That drive that you saw where they ran the ball over and over and over again with a couple of reverses in there, Caleb designed quarterback run. That's what Ben Johnson wants to be, a dominant football team that can run the ball. I loved that drive. That was like music to my ears. It was absolutely beautiful. And also Ben Johnson making sure that all of his playmakers get the football, which was a big time improvement from the previous weeks as well, utilizing this great skills core that the Chicago Bears do have in DJ Moore getting the ball as a receiver and in the backfield. Rome Odunze being hyper productive once again. Lamade Zaccheaus a couple of key first downs on option routes, and they finally clicked in week 3. We missed on those for the first 2 weeks. And then also Luther Burden getting that flea flicker touchdown, over 100 yards, first 100 yards game in week 3 of this young player season. Absolutely great. And then you have Colston Loveland and Cole Kmet both getting involved. Cole with a touchdown and Colston Loveland with a big time completion on, I think, the second drive for the offense in this game. Obviously, he was hurt a little bit later in the game, but utilizing all these skills players was something we were missing, and Ben Johnson made sure that that was not the case anymore. So I love that too from that perspective. And then if we're talking about Caleb Williams, much more under control in this game, looked much more comfortable with the offense in week 3 now into the season. Of this young season and young time he's had with this offense to learn from. There's going to be still growing pains moving forward, believe me, guys, but it was great seeing him more under control and more comfortable. Multiple times when he was at his back of the drop, the ball went out, or he hitched up one time and released the ball. So it looked really, really good in that aspect. And then had a couple of off-platform creative plays that we just know from Caleb Williams, but it's good seeing him still execute on those plays too. And then the last pro I have is the offensive line slowly gelling together. You could just tell that it's 3 new interior offensive linemen with Tooney, Dahlman, and Jonah Jackson, and it took time with the 2 existing Bears offensive tackles to just gel and become one unit. That's the most important thing about the offensive line, playing as a unit, and they're slowly, like I said, gelling together as a group. Pass pro and the run game both look better in this game as well, but we have to say it's a pretty bad defense to play against, but it was good for them to gel together a little bit more that week. And then for the cons for the Chicago Bears, I think my biggest issue still 3 weeks into the season is the run game. Sometimes it is truly the offensive line just not getting any push, not doing a good job where one guy is losing, and if one guy is losing in football, everyone is losing as a unit. That's a beauty and also the bad thing about football, I guess. But the big problem to me is DeAndre Swift. He should not be a lead back that gets multiple carries per drive, in my opinion. Kyle Monangai, in my opinion, looked pretty solid. He fell forward. He kept his legs turning and was getting some good yards and made a couple of good reads as well, which is something DeAndre Swift is struggling with too. And if we're just generously ignoring that -8 yard run by Kyle Monangai, his stats look better too. So I want to see more of him and Roschon Johnson. If he's back to full health, it will be great to have him too as a running back, or trade or look at the practice squad for other options out there, because DeAndre Swift is going to be a great second option. He can be your third down back. He looks better in pass protection this year. He can be dangerous as a receiver out of the backfield, and if you give him creative looks, he can be a great player with open space to work with. But if there's nothing ahead of him, he will stall and he won't get any further yards. And if you compare that, to the Dallas Cowboys offense with Javonte Williams, that guy looked unstoppable, always keeping his legs driving and broke so many tackles. We need a guy like that. I think Monangai and Roschon Johnson can be these guys. You just got to give him more looks, and DeAndre Swift a little bit less. And then slowly you're getting to that Detroit Lions offense where you have David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, that thunder and lightning duo that can work as a changeup for in between the tackle runs and outside zone runs, screens, and all the creative stuff for open field running. And then also one more thing I want to mention for the cons is still Caleb Williams misses. There's a couple of screens that he just threw into the dirt, which cannot happen. He's got to get better at that. And then sometimes he's not setting his feet, missing receivers still in week 3. That was evident. And then also there was one more trick play that the Chicago Bears tried to do. I think it was a direct snap to Kyle Monangai, reverse back to Caleb, who was out as a receiver, and he just misses Lamade Zaccheaus wide open on a crossing route deep down the field, gets his eyes off of it and gets to his check down, or runs it by himself, I think even. So there's still a couple of misses that he has right now that I would love for him to hit, but it was still a massive improvement to the previous weeks, being more under control on time in this offense, and it will just take time. Give the guy time. He's so talented. We got one of the best offensive minds in football as a head coach. I truly believe that too. So there's a couple of cons, but the Bears can overcome it with Caleb just growing more in this offense and the running game, giving different running backs more looks, or trading or signing another running back as a tryout maybe wouldn't be too bad of an idea either. So overall for this game, I think it was a good confidence builder of a game for the Chicago Bears, and it's far from perfect. Right? Like I said, a lot of misses still. It was not a good defense that they faced, so there's still room for improvement, but all I saw was the Bears getting better, getting more comfortable in this offense, and that's what matters the most to me this season, getting more comfortable and being ready for 2026 to compete with the juggernaut NFC North opponents. And with that being said, guys, I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. Definitely let me know in the comments down below what you think of the Bears' performance against the Dallas Cowboys. And make sure to drop your scoring predictions for the Week 4 matchup in Las Vegas against the Raiders. It's going to be a very interesting and great opportunity for the Bears to go 2-2 before the Week 5 bye week and then get healthy out of that bye week and attack moving further down the line after that bye. And with that being said, I see you guys after Week 4 and talk about the Raiders-Bears game. I hope we win. And as always, guys, bear down.